G'day viewers, today we're running a scenario from the new Cargo Line Volume 3. Welcome aboard 4M24 here in Williston Freight Yard. After some passing traffic, you should be cleared to depart. You'll be taking the train as far as Bletchley today. Good stuff. Alrighty, let's get the reverser in then. Acknowledge that. Bit of headlights would be handy. And release the brake, release it a bit more, release it a bit more. I am using Rail Driver today to control this. I'm also running the Train Sim World Rail Driver and Joystick mod by Cobra. And I'm deliberately running the Rail Driver on screen so you can see when I touch it and when I don't. You can already see Cargo Line Volume 1 aggregates going over there. Or was that Volume 2? It's Volume 1 Petroleum. Don't remember, but one or the other. It's the other cargo line, the aggregate train going over there with its mixed graffiti. Since we're still waiting, let's put our independent brake on so we don't roll away. We'll pop outside. We are in the DB Cargo 66 today. Should go this side where it's sunny. And we have got 2,000 and something feet of intermodal. We've got a mixture of containers with 40s and 20s. As we fly down the train, a couple of empty spots here and there. It'll be a little while before we can go because we've got to wait for all of this other traffic to clear us. But it's a pretty good sized train. It is about half a mile long, so it's a bit of a beast, and it's going to be interesting. There goes a 350, and of course, Pendolino. Alrighty, the train looks good. Let's just make sure she's got a Fred on the back. And she does, look at that. Flashy, flashy. Alright. We'll see how long it takes before we are allowed to go. We might want some instrument lights on. Should pop our train length into the beast here. And we want, I think it's 2174. 2172, there you go, it's pretty close. 2172. Oops, I didn't do that right. Of course. That's okay. 2172. And enter to save. There we go. Press the switch to begin. And the switch it talks about is down here somewhere. There's a switch somewhere. Train length, there it is. So, as we get moving, we'll want to know that we have cleared the yard. So we'll be using the train length button at each position. Our signal is green, so we can just start putting on a little bit of power. It is a pretty big train, so we'll just stick with notch 1 for the moment. That's starting to power up, which we can see by the killer amps going up over here. We can watch our departure. Just pull the slack out of the train first. And once we've got that sorted, so once the back of the train is likely to be moving, which should have happened by now because we've travelled a full loco length, let's pop her up to notch 3. We have to be careful not to go over 10 mile an hour, of course. As another 350 flies by down the other side. So we've got the 10 limit coming up. We are on the flat, so I am going to throttle off completely now. And we'll just let her roll from here. As we start leaving the Williston Yard. Not terribly far away to get to Wembley Central. And we'll be taking this all the way down through the route today. Quite a long run. out to Milton Keynes. I can see a whole lot more aggregate cars sitting over there in the sidings. We'll see what other treats wait for us as we roll on by. Alerter. This scenario does have safety systems on by default. We're starting to go uphill now, so let's maintain a little bit of power to keep the speed on. And we're now passing our 20 limit, so we'll whack the train length button, which should make this beastie up here start counting down. I'm hoping. Maybe. Let's do that again. Oh, it is counting down. There we go. I might have been zoomed in enough, or I didn't press it hard enough. So when that gets down to 0, we'll be allowed to speed up and head for 20. You can rely on the HUD, or you can use the train length counter as a real driver would. Over there on our right-hand side, you can see some empty spine cars as we go past that do not have their containers on them as yet. And some more of the other cargo line for aggregates. And an ONE pink plus 66. We've also got a double yellow here, so we've got to keep a little bit of an eye on the signals. I think that might be some oil tankers up there too, which are from the other cargo line, petroleum. How are we going up there? 1267, so we're about halfway through the train. We're apparently allowed up to 15 now, according to the HUD, but my train length would suggest otherwise. So we're going to let the train length count down before we go accelerating, but we can probably stick with notch 1 safely enough for the moment. I've seen plenty of AI traffic in this scenario, and certainly plenty of static traffic. So, Cargo Line Volume 3 is principally for West Coast Main Line South, which is London to Milton Keynes, and East Coast Main Line, Doncaster to Peterborough. For each one, there are 3 new scenarios for each. Just acknowledge the AWS warning there. And have we got near to 0 yet? Nearly. 300 feet to go. That is certainly some tanker cars. No, we're there, so let's start accelerating. You don't want to hit it too hard, because you want to gently accelerate. I did see a YouTube short the other day that said, "What powers the mighty plus 66?" And I couldn't help myself, and I replied, a 50-year-old SD40. Because that is the truth of it. The Class 66 is an SD40 without dynamic brakes. Looks like we have a further track change coming up here. So let's just jump off the power so we are not exceeding the points limit. We'll stick with notch 1 actually for the moment. Now, while I don't normally create content or live stream with a mod installed, the Cobra 1 Train Sim World rail driver and joystick interface is the answer to the dreams of a lot of rail driver owners. Because you may have noticed in the right hand side of the screen there just haven't been any ghostly messages about levers moving. It's been a problem that's dogged rail driver from the start. There are some cohort of players that believe it got worse with TSW5. I'm not so sure about that. But this thing, smooth, silky, really nice. There goes another 350. We roll through the platform here. We can go and join the crowds and watch our train come past. Okay, we'll stand with this one here. Or above her head. I think we're actually on her head. Anyway, that's fine. Don't walk into the train, mate. It's pretty funny doing your moonwalk dance, but just be careful around trains. They bite. Coming out in the main line now, so we can accelerate up to 25. Just gradually work my way up through the throttle because we will be getting onto mainline speed pretty soon. Another of the modern tilt beasts coming the other way, the Pendolino. Certainly going to be faster than us. Ooh, it gave us the wobbles. Keep working our way up. We are at mainline limit now of 75. I think the max speed of the 66 is 75, so we won't be allowed over that. It'll take her a little while to lift this train up to full line speed. Now this scenario is marked as 3 out of 5 stars for difficulty, so we'll see what that is. We've had to manage our train speed coming out of a yard, but that's not that hard. I think I can see a Bakerloo train sitting in that platform up ahead there. I'll try and mute when I feel the need to cough this evening. I unfortunately have a long COVID effect, which is delightful. Which is giving me inflamed lungs. It's getting a lot better. I don't cough nearly as much anymore. But it is taking its time. Just 710 flying the other way. We gradually increase our speed. We've almost hit the earth-shattering 30-mile-an-hour limit. Celebrating the train's 200, there was a time not that long ago when you compare it to the remainder of human history, where attaining 30 miles an hour was thought to actually kill people. The good news for us is we are keeping up with the Bakerloo train. We're only keeping up with it because it stops everywhere. It's only about 2 pixels high now. There's another one coming the other way though, I think. Got some alerter action happening there. We had a bit of wheel slip as well. Interesting. It's settled down though. Traction control cut in and reduced our power. Bakerloo trains are so tiny, like little dolly trains. The kind of thing you'd expect to play with Barbie and Ken, and what was that just slid down the other side? Oh, 377? Looks like it. .25 p.m, so this is running through towards the tail end of the evening peak, but still in the very much demand times for trackage. In the English sense, this is still a pretty decent sized train. There's our Bakerloo friend. We finally caught you. Looks like another series of boxes full of things from Temu going the other way. Container freight has been around for a very long time. The actual first containers were developed in the 1800s. But came into its fruition probably the 1920s, 1930s, where rail boxes became a thing. And rail boxes would be loaded with people's parcels and other less than carload items, and plonked onto flat cars. And gradually over time, the rail box transformed into the ISO container, which was a standard size. And that same container was a bit miraculous because it could be used on trucks and trains. So you could load your goods in at your factory, mark them as FOB, and they would be whisked away on a truck, plonked on a train, plonked on a ship, travel halfway around the world, back onto another train and back onto another truck for the last mile part of the journey, to be unloaded, ready for you to utilise and of course pay for. So a whole new industry developed around the intermodal concept. I have got the game just a touch high, haven't I? I might bring that down just a little bit. That looks better. I still wish things like that digger would just surprise me one day and animate. Are you listening, Will? That's called a scope creep for you to so no. Now, along with the both the West Coast Main Line South and the East Coast Main Line, they each get an entirely new timetable. So it's a replacement timetable for intermodal services. Along with that, they get a new journey chapter each as well. So there's a journey about intermodals, which have, as usual, is a mixture of scenarios and services. There's probably a good 20 to 25 hours of gameplay, possibly a little bit more in the journey. So it's always good to have these extensions in gameplay to make existing routes busier and perhaps give a little love back to the older ones like East Coast Main Line, which has been around for a while. West Coast Main Line South is relatively new. This just adds a new dimension to the playability of both routes. That beeping was Vigilance. A bit like German Siefer, but it's friendlier. It doesn't hold your children hostage. Another 710 over there. Certainly seeing plenty of AI and static traffic as we roll through this. We're about halfway to our next go via point of Watford Junction. I think it's pretty funny that in the Roblox world they refer to those things as pretendolinos. Seems fair, because they're not licensed. Another 350 flying down there, probably come out from Milton Keynes, which is where we're headed to. Another Pendolino. It's pretty rich traffic. Mate, that's all the stuff your partner ordered. It's going to your house. Yep, that's right. Your house. All of it. I'd look that concerned too. We're heading towards Watford Junction, which is in Hertfordshire. I had to look that up. Another 66 with some more containers. I think that was the GBRF rail freight livery going that way. Almost made it to 63 miles an hour. 62 according to the rail driver. Now I do have to wonder why this scenario is marked with 3 stars, so 3 out of 5 difficulty. Because I don't think it's been very difficult so far, which makes me wonder what's coming up. Now, I genuinely haven't played this before recording it, so we're experiencing this together. Well, you'll experience it in a couple of weeks when this gets played, but we're experiencing it together. And right now, if you're watching this on the Train Sim World channel, there is some massive sales going on. Let me just bring up my list on the other side here. The Train Sim World 5 Standard Deluxe or Special Edition. Just rolling through Watford Junction here, full bore. Is 75% off from May 6th to May 13th. We've also got Colin 80% off. The TSW5 Core Route Bundle is 70% off. Midland Mainline is 50% off. Cargo Line Volume 1 Petroleum, I was right, it is Volume 1, is 50% off. Cargo Line Volume 2 Aggregates, 30% off. The Metrolink F59 PHR, 30% off. Thomas and Friends Visit the West Somerset Railway, 20% off. Now, I've got to say, even if you think you would not be a Thomas fan, think about little people in your family that might be interested. But I'd also suggest give it a go, because it adds a new dimension to the West Somerset Railway. There's just basically a lot of fun. The scenarios are just totally fun. They're poking fun at railways, basically, while still maintaining a modicum of actual operation. Cardiff City Network, 20% off. That's up in Wales, the first Wales contact. Swol Groningen, 10% off. The first Dutch content from the Netherlands, a land of windmills and wet things. The Expert DB BR 101 and the IC Stool Wagons, 10% off. So there's quite a lot of stuff on sale, May 6th to 13th. Not sure if I introduced myself, actually. So I am a train simulator driver, and I have a YouTube channel. I'm one of the ambassadors, which is why I'm able to submit content for this. And I'm bringing you Cargo Line Volume 3, Intermodal, because I can. I should mention, Alex also asked me to. When Alex asked, I thought, what are good services to use? So I got onto Adam from Skyhook and went, hey Adam, what's the go, mate? And he suggested this one, which has certainly played out nicely so far. I did come off the power a little for those corners back there. Next up, we're heading to Tring. It's like that actor from the Addams Family. Yeah, Thing, that guy. Prepare for rock and roll. Oh. Is a whole bunch of other stuff on special. West Coast Main Line Preston to Carlisle, so that's West Coast Main Line North over Shap, 10% off. Foul Switch Ludwigsburn, 20% off. The TSW5 Gameplay Pack, so 30% off. MBTA Commuter is 40% off. Birmingham Cross City is 80% off. It's actually one of my favourite routes, that one. It's kind of funny. Did do an ambassador thing with the British Ace, where we drove that thing backwards from the rear cab in a 2-up challenge, just to test route knowledge. Link Rhinestracker, 75% off. The Thameslink BR Class 700, 75% off. Bernina Linny, 70% off. 5 Circle Line, 70% off. TSW3 Core Routes, 70% off. TSW4 Core Routes, 50% off. Pendolino and the Alerta. Quite nice light here as we roll along towards Turin. Get out the way. Important boxes coming your way. It's another moonwalker. And we got passed by a Pendolino while we were doing that. Just looking on the track monitor up there. Oh no, there they go. Green, green, green. That must be a speed restriction. Because I got an AWS, which would only happen for a speed restriction. So I'm just going to bring it down to 60 and then release. Because I was busy searching up what's so important about treeing, so let's just quickly fly back this way and see what that was. There it is. But we didn't go that way. Maybe it's not that one. Maybe it was back here. There's another sign there. Not that one either. Interesting. Well, we have slowed right down now. Now that our brakes are finally released. It is one of the challenges with a longer train is you have to wait a while for your brakes to release. Because when you do a pretty heavy application like that, because I dropped the brake pipe from 5 bar to 4 bar, which would have caused a fairly heavy application throughout the train, it does take a good couple of minutes to actually pump it back up again. And in that time, the rear of your train will continue to be braking even though you've released at the front. That's certainly something a lot of simulator players don't understand because they're not familiar with train handling techniques. I get to learn them the hard way, but also the fun way, because I'm a real-life steam engine fireman on a heritage railway in not too far from where I live. I don't mention their name because they don't really want to be connected with anything else. And from time to time, the driver goes, "Hey mate, do you want to step into my office? I wouldn't mind taking the fire for a little while." Usually it happens on a downhill because, you know, drivers don't like firing uphill. But that's okay because that's where you need the most experience because, to be honest, anybody can drive a train up a hill. It's downhill where you really earn your tea and biscuits. Because you need to understand the forces that are acting on the train, you need to understand the passenger comfort levels when you're braking and when you... the amount of speed you've got on when you come into a curve, you need to know when to apply and when to release. It's kind of a dark art. I stayed in notch 4 for a little while just to make sure we didn't have any slack in the train, and now I'll go back to full power. I did have a very interesting conversation and I produced a video for it for the strength of knuckle couplers versus the strength of the link and pin. So if we go and look at this thing back here. Down here, naturally enough it was an American individual who was going, "I don't know why Europe still uses these link and pin couplers." I said, "They're just not strong enough." And interestingly enough, if we look over next to that where there happens to be a buckeye, you'll notice something equally weak in the buckeye, this pin that goes down through the knuckle. It's actually designed to break. It's designed to fail before the rest of the coupler does. So they're actually not really any stronger than these things. What they are good at is absorbing buff forces, where the forces of the train are buffing together. But the English trains and the German trains and most of the others around Europe, they've got these things called buffers to maintain the buff forces. So they don't need the giant knuckle coupler to do that. Now I did ask my friendly AI while we got that AWS alert, what's so special about Tring? And it basically, the only thing it came up with was that its location, there goes our traction again, we had a bit of a slip and the system's recovering. And it said that Tring Station is not actually located in the town of Tring. It's 2 miles away in the village of Oldbury. Well, there you go. That's a bit of a novelty. Another 350 service powering through. I'd love to see some branded containers. But I'm happy just to see containers with more variety. I know this was a really long time coming because one of the challenges was actually developing a loading model that could cope with variable size containers. Because the actual core of Train Sim World couldn't do it when Skyhook first started doing this. So building another train, just a simple container train, actually required some core changes to enable the functionality of different container sizes throughout the train. Bit of a railway service depot over there. Now, of course, what we have to watch for is Amazon parcel thieves. Oh, hang on, it's not Los Angeles, it's fine. Perfectly good. This reminds me of driving home when I lived on the western side of the city. All the drive to work was into the sun, and all the drives home from work were into the sun. Except in winter when the sun was gone at both ends of the journey. It was always just a little bit disheartening. I'm hoping to come back to the UK again this year, later in the year. Spent quite a bit of time traipsing around the country last year, visiting various railways. I fired on the Telethyn and got into the cab on a few others, and did swing the banjo in a few of the other locomotives, but we won't mention that because, of course, I didn't. I was able to do it officially on Telethyn because the Telethyn Railway and my railway are sisters. And we accept each other's qualifications. So they put me out with another fireman on the first trip, just to give me a bit of an idea of the road and where you should fire and where you shouldn't. Which didn't turn out to be that hard because the Telethyn is basically entirely uphill, so you pretty much fire everywhere. But it's a very small firebox, so I think with our locomotives, which also aren't massive because they're narrow gauge as well, but I think I actually used more coal lighting our locomotives up in the morning than I used all day on the Telethyn Railway on Tolgok. Such a tiny little machine. And as you're approaching Forest at the top of the line, up towards Abergwynnollen, you can't fire. You have to build yourself a fire that will last to the rest of the line all the way, and shut the firebox door and shut the dampers and kind of hope for the best. Because they don't allow firing through the forest. They're a little bit scared about forest fires. Which, coming from Australia, I personally find a little bit funny because when our railway's that wet, we don't worry about fires at all. And it's kind of always that wet in Wales, but they see the way it was and they go, ooh, this is really dry. And I'm sort of thinking, is it really? There's water running down the side of the track. Little streams. I'm still bamboozled at what set off AWS way back there. Looks like we've got an actual yellow signal coming up. We do, we've got a double yellow. So we'll throttle back down to 1 just to maintain the stretch, and we'll do a light brake application because it is a fairly big train. It's a bit finicky with rail driver, this kind of braking action, but it does work. can see our speeds coming off pretty well. I'll release again before we get to 30. Release the brakes, and you can see the airflow gauge here indicating that it's pumping the train back up, and you'll see how long it takes before it actually drops back down to 0. So that was a fairly light application. Single yellow coming up. Probably something has stopped in front of us at Tring. We have got a red right at the end of the platform as well. So chances are there was actually something in the platform until fairly recently. Still maintaining notch 1 just to keep the train stretched out. We can actually have a look and have a see. Actually, the 3 camera would be better for this. Let's just see if we are still stretched. Yeah, we are. The buffers aren't touching. Because even though we're running towards a red signal, I want to keep the train all nice and stretched out and not bunched up. Because it's just better for the cargo in the boxes. And it's more comfortable for me as a driver because I don't get smacked around by things running into the back of my locomotive. Because basically what happens if you don't keep it stretched out is every one of those carriages goes bonk, 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 all along the train. And sitting up here in the driver's chair, you will feel all of those. Another 350 flying down there. I'm kind of hoping that red will clear. I'm hoping there was something in the platform a little while ago that should be approaching the next block by now, but perhaps not. Perhaps we're starting to learn why this is a harder scenario. And I think at this point I'm going to have to assume it's not going to clear. So my route knowledge would tell me that there was this next signal coming up, even though I can't see it yet. I mean, I can see it on the track monitor. So I'll go back on to braking. I'll bring it down to about 10 mile an hour, so we'll start releasing now. We'll just crawl into the station. Because at this sort of speed I can do a very heavy train brake application if I need to. We'll probably end up doing about 2 or 3 mile an hour by the time these brakes release fully. So you can see what I mean about the airflow indicator here. It's still showing some flow. It's not huge anymore, but it's still showing some. So one thing I can tell you as someone who works on real trains is that generally speaking, you will not be powering towards the signal. Light power like this to keep stretch on is fine, but you wouldn't be going hell for leather just thinking, oh, I can stop, it's fine. And I'm going to cut that notch off now. The train shouldn't bunch up too much. The other technique to maintain stretch is to bail off after you've done your brake application. Now I do just want to clear the go via because as a real driver I'd actually stop back here, way back from the signal. Because you want to leave yourself plenty of room in case something bad happens. But as a game player, I want to clear the go via because it could be that that's triggering the signal. So after we clear the go via, I'll start to brake again. If the signal doesn't clear, and the signal has cleared, so there we go. So we'll gently start accelerating again. As our 350 takes off the other way. Got some EWS 4-wheel wagons over there. Lady delivering a new bag to Matt Peddleston. "15 miles on to Bletchley." And of course, you should know what Bletchley's famous for, or Bletchley Park anyway. Just in case you don't, for a bit of trivia, in World War II, the Germans encrypted all of their messaging with a machine called the Enigma, which they thought was an unbreakable cipher. And the clever people at Bletchley Park did in fact break that cipher. And there was, it was Turing among them, who designed one of the first computers to be able to actually break the cipher. The other huge difference about Bletchley Park, and indeed across industry in World War II, is it changed something in Britain pretty much forever, in that the whole place figured out that women could work and run industries. That women were smart and could work things out and do maths, science, all the kinds of things that needed to be done because all of the boys had been sent off overseas. Similar happened in most countries around the world at that time. And that really led to some of the systemic changes that we've seen in today's workplace. It's taken a long time though. Grab another notch. And I'll wait till the power consumption drops before I grab another one. There it goes. So route-wise, we've come quite a long way, probably about 2/3 of the distance through the route. One of the things that amused me for a while about Unreal Engine is the way the lighting's working here, is as though there's a wall coming up in front of the sun. Oop, not a bit of slippy action, but the system will recover from that all by itself. Hey, they still have the phantom hand, don't they? They do, the shadow for the arrows not moving with the arrow. Just stay zoomed out. Trust me, it's what we want. So all up you get 6 new scenarios across the two routes, West Coast Main Line South and East Coast Main Line. You do need to own the routes, so if you don't have them, maybe pick them up in the sale. There's 3 scenarios for each. There's the new journey for each, which includes the 3 scenarios and roughly 10 services or so in each one. There are something in the vicinity of 30 odd services specific to the Intermodal. So you're probably getting 50, 60 hours of gameplay, at least, across the routes. Potentially a bit more. So if you want to breathe a little bit more life into West Coast Main Line South or East Coast Main Line, this is a good way to do it. To see yet another Pretendolino. I have seen some chatter about why is there yet another 66. Each pack has to come with a locomotive to make sure that the pack will actually work for people. So if you don't have any routes with a 66 in them, you could still buy this pack and it will work for you. As we've already seen in this scenario, we've seen a GBRF sub in. There's an EWS pulling a bunch of Cargo Line 1 petroleum carriages, the red ones. So the petroleum ones, if I remember right, they come in red and blue and green, and that replaces the dull black carriages that we had across the route prior to that. Or supplements them is probably a better way to describe that. Gratuitous bridge shot over the canal. Can even see some canal boats sitting up here in the holding basin. It's good to see there's more variety than I thought we had in the game, actually. It's kind of cool. I hadn't noticed these ones in here before. I got to have a drive of a canal boat that belonged to a friend of mine's friend. So there you go. When I was in Manchester and brought it out. Picked it up in Manchester and took it out for a spin for an hour or so in one direction, and then we were bringing it back. Pendolino. I sometimes see people lamenting about the APT. If only it ever was. We just got passed by it. That's its distant cousin, the Italian APT. Starting to get a bit of nice sunset action happening here. Our sun over there, which is about to dip below the horizon. Does look nice, shining through the trees there, highlighting them all. They are starting to go a tad over the limit. We're up to 77. I'll just bring that back under control so that we don't have a tea and biscuits moment with the boss. 77 would be tea and biscuits. 80 might be no biscuits. Very light brake application, about as light as you can with the rail driver, and we'll release that almost straight away, and that should be enough to bring us back down below. I think my efforts to keep the train stretched by staying in notch 1 might have been thwarted actually. I just noticed the kiloamps gauge there went back to 0. Just out of curiosity, I'm just going to try that again. So if I apply the brake just a little. I don't know. Maybe I was dreaming it. I'll play it back later and have a look. I swore it went back down to 0. If you're watching this on my channel in a few weeks' time, after it's been played on the Dovetail channel and I've uploaded it to mine, sorry, but the sales aren't on anymore. You missed out. Don't worry, there'll be more. There always are. Interestingly, one of the most commonly asked questions I get on my channel is, do you know when the next sale is? And I always say, when was the sale last year? In case you haven't noticed, usually about the same time. Now I don't know if this sale is Steam only or if it's on other platforms, because I haven't actually been told that in the information that I've got, I don't think. Robot. He's a little delivery robot. It's all lost. They are a collectible. You go and close the lid and it helps them. It's not a Pendolino. Okay. There's a barcode in the sky made of trees. The aliens are coming. Get your tinfoil hats, folks. Nice headlights on this 66. Unlike the candles we usually have on British trains. .5 miles to Bletchley Yard. Not exactly running at full power now, so I'll just leave her alone. We're only on about notch 3. Only got 5 miles to go, so I'll leave her there. We're going plenty quick. We are starting to head downhill again as well. Oh, that looks nice. Driving back into the sun again. Sun's dipped down behind that structure, unfortunately. This is what I mean the weird bit about Unreal. See, it's got all these trays all nicely lit up, but when you get into the shadow drawing stuff, it goes all dark again. I'd love it if that didn't happen. Oh, look, low-res sheep. I'm sorry, but Midlands Barn has forever spoilt us for the animals, because, you know, we've got high-resolution walking around cows on Midlands Barn. The only way they could possibly be better is to fly and get milked. I've turned the occasional one into a big pile of hamburger with a crocodile locomotive, but apart from that, it's gone well. It's about 3 miles out now, so I'm going to power off completely and we'll just roll in the rest of the way. And just let our speed start to drift down. Which it may not drift very much because we are going downhill at the moment. Oops, I think I might stay in here. We've got a yellow flashing signal which tells me the next one will be a double yellow. So I'm going to go a very light brake application. That'll do. We'll just let that start eating off some of our speed. Ooh, rain. In that case, I'm actually going to give a slightly heavier brake application. And we might even start doing some sand. Probably some windscreen wipers. Which is, of course, the biggest test of the Train Sim World Rail Driver and Joystick mod. Because anybody that knows one of these things knows that the wiper switch is the worst thing on it. Alright, we'll release the brakes now. And cut the sand. Mile and a half to Bletchley Vale Yard, where we'll be stopping. It is really nice light in the Pod 4 systems in the mornings and the evenings. As you go through the golden and red hours, transitioning into blue as it gets dark. Yeah, we have got a diversion coming up there. You can see by the white lines on the feather. It's letting us know that we will be going off to the right. So I'm going to go another really light brake application, but I'm going to release it straight away, because our speed was starting to drift up a little bit since we're going down gradient, and I want to keep it under control while we transition into the sidings. There's no point hitting a speed record if you can't stop when you get there. Or if you go flying up and try and stop really violently, and all the stuff falls over in your boxes and your railway gets done for damages. I don't know if you're aware or not, but the railway's liable for anything that's damaged during shipment. It's universal in most places around the world that the carrier becomes liable for it. You know, another very small brake application, which I will release immediately, just to trickle our speed back a little bit for the transition through the points here. Pendolino. Going to hold this one briefly and release. We've got the 5 coming up over there, so we will... not going into that road though, because it's full. You can see we'll be diverting off to the right again, based on the feather on the signal at the end of the platform there. As we slowly roll through Bletchley Station. As we roll through to the end, I hope this is adequately shown off cargo line for you. You've enjoyed this content. If you'd like to see more of my particularly weird kind of Australian humour, then come visit youtube.com/train simulator driver. All one word. I don't bite. I'm friendly. Unlike some other Aussies. Who would say that? Just slide our way into the yard, nice and slow. I'm just got another really quick brake application, which I'm going to release immediately, just to get us down below the 5 mark for this upcoming little quiet stretch of 5 mile an hour up here. I may even have to power to keep it running, but we'll see, because we are going downhill. So it should be okay. There's an EWS 66, number 007 next to us. It is engine, James engine, license to pull. You know why it's James? Because it's red. Resistance was futile. Oh, he might pop just a touch of power on, just to keep us moving. We haven't actually reached the 5 zone yet. Better actually have a look at the points too, and just make sure that this is actually all set for us. Because wouldn't it be a bummer to come this far only to discover it wasn't? So that one looks... Is that one set? I think that's set. I think so. It's hard to tell with this one though, because there's a signal on top of it, but we'll just keep an eye on it. We're supposed to go straight, and then straight. I think we're going into the right place. We have drifted up again in speed, so we'll just quick brake and release again. One technique you can use when you're going this slowly is you can use a little bit of independent brake. But you do have to be just a touch careful doing that. Because if you lock your loco wheels up, they'll just grind. Ah, the rain machine's been turned off. I don't think that red signal's for me as we drift in the last little bit. Another very quick light brake application. May have to do another one. No, we've gone down. So we come sliding into the yard. I'm really hoping that signal's not mine. I don't think it is, because usually you're on the left. If it was, it's been nice knowing you. And the word you're looking for is bad. It's a railway terminology. Signal passed at danger. It's probably the worst thing a train driver can do that's not actually crashing into another train. I think we might actually keep that light brake application on for a little while, because we are due to stop pretty soon. I'll release that now. Lots and lots of static stock around the place. It's good to see the yards with things in them. You know, I'm being observed by a cat. Sitting up on her perch up there watching me. She's our squishy face cat. Oops. And her head kind of looks like a tennis ball. This brake application's feeling pretty good to me. Thanks, driver. This is as far as you're taking the train. Why? Because the playable area ends right there. You can't go any further. Well, that's it. I had a touch of speeding up there. Naughty. Very naughty. But platinum medal. So there you go. Cargo Line Volume 3 is not on sale. But Cargo Lines Volume 2 and 2 are. Alrighty, have fun folks. I have been Train Simulator Driver. If you like my content, please come and visit my channel, youtube.com/Train Simulator Driver, all one word. Thanks to Alex and the crew for giving me a chance to show off Cargo Line Volume 3 on the Train Sim World channel. That's it folks. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great one, and I appreciate you. Hopefully I've been able to get in the chat if it's not running at some weird time and I'm asleep. Anyway, see you later. Bye.
We played a game.